Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 7 of the TSL Podcast. So it is Prox and Dilly and me, of course, here. Dilly is not in class. He got out. That is why. So we actually moved our normal podcast time to now. So I know daylight saving sort of screwed it up for some countries, but this is 4 Central. So Dilly is out of class. Gets out of class an hour ago.
Yeah.
Um,
Unless it's closed early to a school shooting,
Yeah.
which, high
Yikes.
What
likelihood with
the?
Yikes,
America.
Monka. Azor could not be with us today. He forgot he had some, I think, family stuff or something last minute. Um, so just us three. Last time, it's been a while because of BlizzCon and just IRL issues, but last episode number 6, if you haven't seen that, I actually suck and just posted that like a couple days ago. But that is the survival PvP episode with Big Mex. Very good episode, very informative if you're interested in PvP at all. A lot of survival bants, and it's probably the only time we're ever going to talk about survival, so definitely go
Yeah.
check that out. Um,
I
no,
appreciate making it like we're just gonna double up on the two things I give no fucks about. We'll get survival and PvP out in one, and then I'll just me not be there.
yeah,
What
Like
see,
it's a
see.
the?
nice efficient usage.
But
You
yeah,
have to you
so
have to balance everything.
I know, right? So this episode, we are talking about everything that we've missed in the last month, basically. So BlizzCon, Shadowlands, 8.3. If we had time, we'll touch on Phase 2 of Classic. So a lot of stuff to cover in this episode. Um, so Prox, Dilly, what did y'all think about BlizzCon?
I I kind of liked it actually. I had a good time. I mean, I I have some hope with the next expansion, but I'll be cautiously optimistic. You know?
Yeah, I
If
Dilly,
you
I'm very
ignore the patterns of everything they've done up until this moment, then there are some very promising signs for that BlizzCon.
Yeah.
You don't ignore everything that's happened to this moment. We
uh, it
know that hey, there
it
was some really good
Yeah.
nuisance,
it
and
felt
some
like
of those things will be watered down or fucked up, and
yeah.
some of the things that are not so good, they'll probably double down on those and make it even worse. But
It
we'll
felt
see.
Yeah.
like everything that shit about this expansion, they were just like, okay, Shadowlands, we're just cutting all of that and we're actually implementing good systems, which we'll see if it actually ends up being good. The way it
Yeah.
Yeah,
sounded good.
there's some challenges with the underlying why,
I,
right? Like, because none of this was news
I
to Blizzard. Island's always been across the issues. He's always understood. The difference is he's gone. I understand this is not what
but I don't know how to
the
fix it.
people want. No, it's not that. He said, I understand that this is not what they want. They're wrong. We're right. They just don't appreciate our vision. They can stand and they'll see our greatness. And
Yeah.
we've stayed and we've seen him drive a multi-billion-dollar asset into the ground.
Yeah.
So maybe he's had some pressure from above off, hey, your approach is shit. And if it was in any other industry, you'd be dragged out into an alley and shot in the back of the head. If
I
that's the
honestly think
case,
it's
then
sorry, you keep
no,
going.
I was just going to say, like, if that's the case, then some pressure for him to listen to people is a good sign. And realistically, uh, almost all those changes, not all of them, but almost all of them are initial signs of listening to people. There's
Yeah.
also other ones that aren't, like really doubling down on the no master looter, etc. Even though there are some nice options there to do best of both worlds, that's still one where they're going, no, we know better. But I'll fucking
Yeah.
give that up if
Yeah.
it means no more artifact power and the rest of the bullshit.
Yeah. Honestly, what I'm like, I mean, the thing I'm thinking is maybe they're like looking at classic success, hopefully, and like at least realize something. I mean, the abilities they say are coming back, like those
I
definitely
mean,
look good.
the rumors
The
that
thing,
came out a while back was that somebody was going to look at classic success, and if it was doing what production team couldn't, then they would basically get told you're the bitches now and you listen to them. So I would hope that that turned out to
Yeah.
be not just a rumor,
yeah,
because that entire piece, the success is driven from the fact that they're listening to the customer
Yeah.
base.
Yeah,
Which shouldn't be a
I
novel
definitely
fucking
agree with that.
idea, but apparently it is.
I mean, I also like that they even have basically Holinka as the class designer, because I mean he was a
I'm glad
PvP
they
dev.
brought him back.
That well, this is the thing. I think he was working, but
Well, he was in a
this is the
different
thing when
division,
you're
right?
well, yeah. I mean, also the thing is when he's a PvP designer, they you can't do anything as a PvP designer. And realistically, the thing that matters anyways for PvP is like the class design. Like it doesn't matter if you give us like some. It doesn't matter if you give like a fucking BG or some shit like that. Literally, like honestly, the thing that matters the most in PvP, ironically, is like just all the RPG elements of the game. Like,
Well,
and
for
I mean,
PvP, it's
I hope
like
the you go on first.
I was gonna say for PvP, it's like there's only so many different maps you can make, right? Like you put a pillar or two, or like
Yeah,
a ledge or something, right? But it's all basically the same thing. I think the only major, the only major arena one is the one with the giant bridge in the middle where you have to like go up and down, and then all the others are
yeah.
basically the same, right? With just like a ledge here and there, like
Yeah, like fair. They're all fairly similar, and I mean, honestly, sometimes most of the newer ones aren't that great. Like some are okay. Realistically, the ones that are best are literally just the copies of the Grand Arena type
yeah.
style. But I mean, honestly, the overall system thing is it's weird. It's like I don't know. Just thinking about classic, like I feel like it's really eye opening to a lot of people because one thing I noticed is just how bad a lot of just general systems are. Like, don't get me wrong, like classic definitely has its problems, but it's like they have problems, but it feels more like an MMO because I could look at things like gold value, like the game's economy, how the game actually, it forces the economy, and all things are like pretty relative, stuff like that. I mean, there's just a lot, like there's just a lot of stuff like that. Professions matter in a way for making gold, and you're useful for everyone. Like everyone needs something from each profession type thing. But then I look at like BFA, and I swear, like I can't remember the last time I thought about gold. Like I just do things and I get like an arbitrary amount of gold. Like I'll open up a random box from an arena game. I get like 200 gold in my bag. I'll get a bunch of like fucking fish. I'm like, oh, what the fuck am I gonna do with this? Like I get all these random
It's
things. I get
it's
all these
from
random
that
things.
time where it was okay to say so what. It's like um oh, it's
Yeah,
not fair that people who do this get an advantage over other people. So what? You all have
yeah,
that available to you, and if you don't, then that's the benefit of them doing that.
yeah.
Oh
I mean,
well,
I
these
mean,
people do this and get this profession. It's so valuable. So what? Like that's okay. That's MMO. That's what it's about. That's probably the thing that really got eroded the most over time is all this homogenization and making alternate sources. So the cherry on the top of that, the absolute pinnacle of that is LFR, right? It's the hey, we made a way for you to experience it. Now you can fucking Titan Forge items all the way up to the same levels that you did
yeah,
with the grade. But I mean, that's just the pinnacle of it. That whole fucking mountain is just about an approach and a strategy that at initial face value, you're like, oh yeah, okay, that couldn't be too bad. What's the worst that could happen? And then you throw like 10 years of that in practice and you go, ooh, okay, yeah, whoops.
Well, I mean, this is a problem that happens with all game, like the entire industry, right? It's like doing, like everyone's doing this, and then now, like eventually, people are realizing, they're kind of sick of that. I mean, I think the thing it comes down to is like when you're designing games, I think what matters the most, it's not making everyone equal to each other. It's giving everyone the same opportunity to succeed. So if you have an equal opportunity to succeed, it's totally fine for someone to be better than someone else.
Well,
But that
yes
that
and
should be a
no.
distinction.
Yes and
Okay,
no, because
boomer.
that was one of the reasons Titan Forging became, right? Is because they were
No,
like,
no,
oh,
I mean in the sense that like every everyone can do this if you just get good. You know what I mean? Like if it's based on that, not that oh you have a random chance of time forging. I'm more talking that like give the information for players to learn, but you still have to learn. Like
yeah.
they don't actually do it for you. When something is done for you, it's bad. I mean, it's almost like looking at like systems that you know maybe like if a government's like trying to like how about people that are like poor or shit like that, but the difference is like they're not given an equal opportunity in life. Some life it's like not balanced, right?
Yeah,
Sometimes you're just
people
unlucky.
aren't after handouts; they're after an equal footing to
Right,
then do
Yeah.
something with their opportunity
right,
themselves.
right. But the beauty with games is like you actually get that, so it's not like real life where you actually need to have that. Like sometimes in games like you can just be bad, in life, if you're a rich person and telling a poor person like, "LOL, just get money," like that's fucking obnoxious. But I mean, in
I
a
know
game,
you base like 300 years of country history on it or something, right?
but in a game, like if I think about Classic and I'm just like, damn, I'm broke as fuck. You know what someone's gonna say? LOL, just get money, idiot. And like, you know what? Like they're kind of right. If I want to get that money, because I have the same opportunity as anyone else to get money. I don't have to do
Yeah.
anything. Like, obviously excluding an exception where it's like, haha, I'm a streamer, I'm getting money for free. But that's like, that's
Yeah.
like a very arbitrary, like such a pointless case to bring up. And then you could even be like devil's advocate. Well, they worked hard to become a streamer in the first place, so that's the benefits, haha. But that's obviously stupid as fuck too.
Yeah.
Realistically,
it was kind of alarming out of BlizzCon is how much they've doubled down on that. Whoops, we really fucked the dog with BFA. We're gonna fix all this shit with Shadowlands. There's still a good year between now
I
and
know.
then.
well,
And
There's still a
I
lot
don't
that
think
they
we're
need to
gonna
fix
see
in
much love at
8.3.
all, right?
honestly,
Yeah,
I think they've scrapped
and 8.3 is not
8.3.
fixing
They're
it.
just like, I think they're just done
Yes.
with BFA, and they're just like, we'll fix the major issues, but like all the minor shit, just deal with it, because we're working on Shadowlands. That's what it feels like, anyways.
Yeah, and so that's a long time for players to have
Yeah.
something that is still a really not enjoyable.
Yeah.
yeah. One thing I've been thinking about, it's based on that. One, I feel like they need a longer development cycle. Like I think that's also part of the issue. It's like they're rushing expansions, and it reminds me of like Warlords of Draenor, right? Like towards the end, they're like, oh, you know what, we fucked up. We're just gonna work hard on Legion, and then like
The
I feel,
3 tiers in 3 years. That felt like there was supposed to be one more tier. They just never got around to.
yeah,
They're like,
but I
fucking
mean the
scrap it,
thing
roll
with
into
WoD is like you could see they almost at a certain point tried to salvage it so they could focus on the next expansion, right?
Yeah.
And then I felt like Legion overall from the base up, like it was pretty good. Like I mean, obviously every single expansion has its issues, but I think overall for every no matter what type of player you are, like I would say that it was better for Warlords. Like you could talk to certain people for like specific things, like oh maybe some PvPers like Warlords to Draenor more than Legion and stuff like that, but I mean, overall, like the entire player base, I felt was way more happy with just Legion as a game over Warlords of Draenor, even though it had its issues. And I mean, that's probably the only thing that I feel would make Shadowlands like probably good if they're pretty much just saying fuck BFA is trash. We gotta just we gotta salvage it.
I mean, you've
The
heard the
bigger
theory,
challenge
right?
is,
That
I was just saying the bigger challenge is that it takes the whole expansion to get it to the state that it should
yeah,
have been
that
at release. Like
that
look at Legion,
is
for example, and everyone who has positive memories of Legion, when you interrogate those perceptions or those feelings, it's always about the end of Legion because Legion was
right.
really great at the end. But man, Legion at release
It
was a
sucked.
steaming
It
pile of
sucked
Yeah.
beginning.
dog shit.
No,
Yeah.
it definitely did. But I mean, at least there was like the thing is, it sucked, but there was like a core that was adjustable. I guess it seemed like it was really like it was possible to fix it. You don't think so?
Yeah,
I feel like
yeah.
I feel like it had a good core. Like that's actually the way I feel when I look at Classic, right? Whenever people are like there's shitty things about Classic, I'm like, yeah, but like the base of the game gives you like Wrath of the Lich King, and I'm like, yeah, I mean that seems pretty good. But when I look at BFA, how can you build on BFA? I feel like you
But
cannot build on BFA.
honestly, you could though. Like, and
Honestly,
I think that's the
BFA, you
problem is
could.
that you claim. If you couldn't,
I know. I think
everyone,
you can
all
make
of
it
us would just
better.
yeet out of the game right now. Like it's literally you could do some very small changes that right away
Yeah.
would
I
dramatically
mean, you can
improve on
cap
like
Titan forging or something like that to like 15 eye levels or something, and that would
yeah, I
immediately
mean,
No,
help.
I
Or
no,
like,
I swear with the Titan Forging, what they should have
fuck
done
that off, but
is just have it so you're a Mythic Raider, Gladiator, PvPer, you're whatever top level Mythic Plus player, boom, highest item level 445. Okay, that's the cap. Whatever, maybe give it a fucking gem socket too. Okay, then you're a random fucking idiot. You know what? You still have the chance to get your gear to upgrade to that level, but it's not going to go anything higher. So either way, the best players.
I think that the 15 cap would have been the
yeah.
easiest way to solve
You
that.
don't well
Move
you
on
don't
to
like
the next
you
one.
don't like the ceiling just being at like the limit, like okay, like the highest you get
Ceiling being
from
the
Mythic,
limit?
The ceiling
like
being
okay,
at 445 is what he's saying.
yeah
Instead of,
instead of 455, because it's
If
always
we're
10 item levels higher than whatever the mythic raid level is,
So
right?
the reason that would be fine though is that you're only getting that from mythic content. It's still you can't get to that from heroic. You can't get all you can get
Yeah.
from heroic is base mythic at best, right? So you still get those steps, you still get that variation. That's fine. It would have been an easy way to solve it. You can look at re-architecting it later. This isn't about how do you fix everything. It's what small changes could have gone in, fucking at any point as a hot fix and made things dramatically better. You
Nah,
could have done that very quickly.
I definitely
And
agree
then
with that too.
fuck off the GCD shit. Like
Yeah.
there's so
Dude,
many
I
little things,
actually
just layers of little
actually with
things
the
like that.
GCD thing, I look okay. This is unpopular, but I actually don't think the GCD is the issue. I
Remove.
think
It,
no, I think the issue is the way the classes are designed around the GCD, because the problem is you have specs like BM Hunter, and it's still a spec that legitimately needs to just be spamming cooldowns and stacking cooldowns, right? But then they add the GCD, so it's like the spec is not designed to fit around the idea of having the global cooldown on
Yeah,
all of your
so
abilities. So it's not actually for me. I don't think it's even the concept of GCD is they didn't think of that, because people
no.
are saying like,
But this is about what could you have done to
yeah,
get it
yeah,
to a good state in the
right.
meantime,
yeah,
so
yeah,
that
yeah,
you're
for
not
sure.
saying put up with shit for a year, right? Like
No,
can
no,
have a
I
small one,
agree
and
too.
then they could say, hey, our first take at addressing this wasn't right. It wasn't to slow it down. It needs to be about not stacking all your cooldowns into one fucking window and overlapping everything. How do we rethink that in terms of abilities, cooldowns, the way they line up, all of that sort of shit? Um, it's yeah, it's just there are heaps of little things like that that
Yeah.
really would have artifact power. There's a cap each week. Look, nice, easy to do. Like really little things that you could simply have done at any point.
Yeah,
Um, it doesn't have to be this whole nah, it's a lost cause. You stay with it. We'll have a go in the next expansion. At which point they just ditch everything, go to entirely new systems, forget all the knowledge that they've learned, they've developed over time, and instead just start working on a different set of problems at the same glacial pace.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I definitely feel like it could have been so. I mean, from like from my point of view too, I feel like they could have fixed BFA. I mean, mostly what I'm thinking is like just at a core of like an expansion for BFA, like still seems like pretty boring. Like you could fix BFA, but I feel like I I think there's just so many like basic like system issues that is like I just still don't think it has like the MMO ideas of that. I mean, you could still make it like a good game, but it just doesn't have that like same feel that people are like
Yeah.
looking for. Um, I mean, I definitely agree with the changing thing. Like for PvP, there were so many major changes that were huge issues. The thing that is crazy to me is I mean, honestly, I don't even think I should say this, but I actually don't give a fuck at this point. It's like they had basically all the competitive PvPers, like the AWC. I think they did this for the MDI too. Don't get me wrong, but they as a good way for us to get feedback, they had like a pretty much like a Discord where we were able to just be productive, have any feedback that we want to give, produce in a proper way. I mean, we said what the issues were. We did so much. We would take like fucking Warcraft logs of arena matches so they could look at this shit, and we would be saying what the fucking issues were. We would say what the fucking issues were weeks and weeks in advance, and we would call it, and they were like, no, we're gonna wait it out, and then we would be right, and then they would do like a minor change, and we were like sitting here, and the esports people there, they knew that like they were agreeing with what we said. It's just that I guess the way it is even even though they have like PvP designer or whatever, teams like that, everything still has to go through like I guess they're Ian or whatever. So even if you only give a fuck about like
It's
one
it's
thing,
it's not even that, right? I feel like they've taken their eyes off what timelines the player base live to and what time means to player base as opposed to their development cycle and what
I mean,
comes after the development
I
cycle.
don't know
I mean,
because
they're dealing with multiple stages of release, right? So there could be you identify something and they're like, well, it's not going to make the next build after that, but we're already working on the code for it all the way down
Yeah.
here. I feel like I've done something about it. Pat myself on the back.
I
I
think they
listened to
have.
them. I put it in play.
but the
It's
thing
6 months before
the
you
thing
experience that. But they're
Yeah.
like, oh, well, on my time scale, I've sorted the
I
problem
think they
out. So
have very minimal overhead dedicated to live things. Like
I
it's basically just
well, yeah,
maintenance.
that's probably true. But I feel
Like
like some things it's like there's things that just go through it, and there's no way that they have like any like there's no way that there's any like internal feedback going on that it's like it seems like almost anything you do, I feel like someone has to just be saying it's just a good idea, and there's no one ever saying that it's bad, or if they are saying it's bad, like they just immediately disagree with you, and they're like you're being toxic, because that's what I feel like. So many changes that could go through, and it's like how did you not instantly see the flaw with it? Like I remember when I seen the corrupted thing, there was that the Bellular video, right? I mean, there's so many obvious things, right, that you should have seen coming if there's any sort of internal feedback. I mean, that's consistently happening. I mean,
the worst is when those kind of things actually make it through a beta or through a PTR, and there's these 30 fucking threads of feedback.
Oh no,
there's 80 million things about it, but then it makes it all the way to live, and they're like, oh, we really couldn't have seen this until we got enough data. We're making the change now. It's like bullfuck.
Yes, exactly.
Shit.
No, like the shit I'm saying with the PvPers, dude. We have like alphas of the fucking game. We get like. It's like we know so far in advance, and it's like we've played for years. We obviously have like a fucking super deep, and we're like, wow, here's this one change you could do just percent wise. This is crazy. And then it's like them just waiting, and then like they're telling us like, you know, they've sent the feedback, and we agree with you guys, but the people up top
Dude,
are not.
I've wanted
agreeing.
for so long to just get like 2 or 3 people that like know the shit out of each class and like do all the theory crafting and like literally sit there and like test all the stuff on PTR to like get in a Discord with like each, like, you know, like the hunter dev or whatever, and just say like, hey, this is an issue, this is, you know, this is probably tuning, but up to, you know, like just lay everything out there. And I think like each class would just be so much better. Like all the little bugs that are randomly there would be fixed for the most part. But it's just so like I don't know, because then you get into this thing where like how do you pick those 2 or 3 people, and how do you know, and so there's just all this like
in a weird way, I feel like I always think like, oh, they're probably thinking that because we don't want people to be biased or whatever. But in a way, it's like, fuck. If it was like everyone was in a way biased to the class, holy fuck, I would rather every class just be super broken than every class broken yet balanced than every class being weak and balanced, because when your class is weak and balanced, it just feels horrible. I mean, I don't exactly know how. Sorry,
at the end of WOD, where they were like, "Wow, it's the last tier. We want the trinkets to feel like they're brokenly good. We want the TSS to feel like they're brokenly good." And other than the few outliers, like it felt fucking good to feel so powerful. And then everyone felt that powerful, and that was okay. It's just there were a few outliers that spoiled it, and then they left those outliers untouched for a year and a half. But
I mean, yeah, like for me, like as a peer, I think about Mystic Panera, I'm like, holy fuck, there were so many mechanics that were like so stupid, but everyone was so like had something so stupid, and I'm like, wow, like, you know, it works out. Everyone was just so hilariously broken, and it's like funny as fuck. And then after that, like I like once Warlords hit, I would just notice even like the best classes would feel really bad to play. Like even if you were playing the most OP thing, you felt weak, and it was like, again, I don't know how it was in PvE, but like almost every class in PvP felt like you relied and like you did not work out without having like a specific comp cater to you. Like beforehand in PvP and almost every expansion, like you had plays you could make by yourself, you could do things alone, and after that it was like you're so dependent on someone else, you're so like forced into a certain thing, you just lost so many things you could do, and you just had a very specific role. Like everyone did the same thing, and like even if you're playing something good, you just feel so fucking weak. And then it makes people delusional, because then if you're playing something overpowered, then you're like, yep, my class is definitely not overpowered. I'm just very good. Ha 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 ha. My class is weak because it feels weak to play. And then holy fuck, and people are just the most obnoxious when that happens. Mage rogue. Fuck.
Power blast.
Fuck.
Man,
Holy shit.
Dilly, I'm not even kidding. I had this sign. I should have taken a picture of it. Prox, I made a sign for Dilly. I was like, who would win, Dilly or a greater pyroblast? And I was gonna show it to him while he was casting, but I missed it. I was very sad.
It's so weird because all the people, all the like mage content creators, I love talking to them. I love meeting them as people. But as soon as I'm home, I'm like, oh my god, I fucking hate this person. And I realize I just hate. I just hate the person playing the character. You know what I'm saying? I just hate the character. It's very annoying, but I don't hate the person behind the character.
Okay, so hey.
Get us back on track.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
super
so we
awesome.
talked a lot about the state of the game. Let's talk about the Shadowlands announcement. So the big thing everyone's been wanting, the return of abilities, Killshot, Hunter's Mark,
Kind of-
Eyes of the Beast.
So the kill shot news is very, very welcome, and
I'm
that's
so
Yeah.
that's
happy
great. It's
Killshot's
nice
coming
having
back.
it on demand execute. It's nice having that thing that changes up your play a bit more dynamically towards the end of the fight. You're like, hey, I'm not just doing the same shit that I did for the last 4 minutes of this encounter. That's really nice. Hunter's Mark.
No,
Eh.
I'm happy about that. No, I actually really like, dude, the fucking you could stop people in
It's fine.
stealth.
Like,
Well, it's good for PvP, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah. That
But
seems
okay,
rogue.
okay.
No,
That
no
being
one's like,
said,
oh, I don't want that
it
back.
depends.
Like,
It
cool,
depends
it's
what
it's not
iteration of
really-
Hunter's Mark it is, right? Like if it's the one that's on GCD that gives you focus back, like that blows, right?
fuck.
If it's the
Yeah,
old
Wait,
one
what?
the one that's getting
where
banned now,
the
fuck off.
current
I
Hunter's
don't-
Mark, do you not know the current Hunter's Mark?
Nah,
Dilly?
bro.
Okay, so
see
the
that.
Marksman Hunter's Mark that you currently have, you put Hunter's Mark on there. It's on the GCD, and when the target dies with Hunter's Mark, it refunds a little bit of focus.
The old
So,
Hunter's Mark was on GCD, but you had the passive one too for marksman that would apply, and then you had, but dude, fuck.
dude, just the fact that it's on
I
GCD
don't
just
like that
sucks.
focus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
So-
like the
so-
focus thing. If they
I,
take
I'm
it
for
I'm
the
full,
okay.
last
I'm okay
bit,
with the
I'll
GCD,
say,
but
did that take
there's
Eyes
no
of the-
passive way to apply it, which they had for MM because it was very global intensive. Like I know they had that for PvP or
yeah,
PvE.
it'll really depend what, yeah, like what
Yeah,
iteration it is,
I actually
because
want like the I want them to give whatever fucking classic version of it. Fuck it. I want to see rogues. Fuck them. I hate their class. I just want to see people in stealth, man. That's all I want. And also, you know, warlocks and they have their little impy boys.
dude, I know
When I put
Prox is
100's mark.
excited for Eyes of the Beast. He likes RP
Yeah,
against his
did
pet.
they,
Yes.
did they take that out?
Yeah, they did. What?
No one would fucking notice. What I would have rather have seen in that spot is, hey, we returned aspects.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
maybe
I
we've
absolutely
tried
agree.
to
I
create
was
scenarios
really
that
sad.
you swap them a bit more, but
They announced all the thing for rogues, right? Like they announced so here, actually I can bring it up real quick.
Where are the stings? I want my aspects and I want my
Yeah.
fucking stings. Give me
yeah,
that
like
shit.
that's
Yes.
some class identity
Okay.
that I
Okay,
would have
yeah.
appreciated coming back, rather than you can go into your pet and go zoom when you're sitting AFK at farm.
Have you ever griefed
um,
with your eyes of the beast? Okay, you put in a low level zone, name it Wolf, and then you got someone like tagged. Okay.
Okay, so we
Um,
have Death Knight is getting like Raised Dead, AMS, and stuff like that. Druid, Ursol's Vortex is baseline now. Cyclone's
Cool, too.
baseline. Paladin's getting all their auras back, which I thought was a little.
Yeah, how do they get their auras back and we don't get our aspects? Or maybe
Yeah,
they
Rogue gets all their
or maybe we
poisons
have that and
back.
they didn't announce it.
Right? Like Rogue gets. Can you
I'm
imagine
likely.
Outlaw with crippling poison? That's like.
I couldn't admire your optimism. Maybe they were going to give us that really cool thing. They just forgot to type it down. No.
I mean, there's the many
Oh,
more.
sweet
I
summer.
mean-
And then
mean-
Warlocks get all their curses too.
Yeah, so like that.
Yeah,
to
I
me
like that
would have
too.
been
I
much
actually
more
like that.
welcome than Zoom. Is hey, here's the complexity of aspects back, and here's the complexity of stings back. Even if they're things that you don't always use and always change in a raid encounter or whatever, it's here's some of
Amen.
that
A-
class
Yes,
depth and
exactly.
complexity
Yo,
back, right?
Scare Beast too. Give me that shit. Oh my god, I love Scare Beast. Scare Beast
Yeah,
is
yeah,
such a
like,
Scare
yeah,
Scare
bring
Beast
Scare
is
Beast
so
back
sick.
and make the fucking
so sick.
druids run away. Like,
Yes,
you know, these were
and
nice little
the
things.
dog
and there's
form
no harm in
shamans.
having a six-
Fuck those dogs too, and other hunters. Other hunters, you know, you class envy. Fuck their pets, or honestly, even when you're just like fighting some fucking mob. I
Yeah,
want
I
to Scare
really
Beast them.
like those kind of abilities or things where they add to the depth of the class. They give you more buttons.
You don't
but
have to
they're
press
not
it all the time.
Adding to your normal complexity. You're not making it too complicated for players to do their thing, but you're giving choice and options and flavor. Like,
Yeah,
or we could just give you back aspect of the Eyes of the Beast.
honestly,
Give me
that's
fucking
probably
cheetah back too. Like,
Yes,
not cheetah,
dude,
pack. Give me
seriously.
pack back.
I honestly think probably that point you made is I think that's kind of what I like with Classic, just as a concept.
Yeah.
It's like because all your rotations in PvE they're extremely brain dead. Like they're very brain dead, but then the rest of your class has depth. So like it feels cool. Like it makes it so that even if you're an inexperienced player, you can still do the content as long as you pay attention. Listen to whatever you work hard. You could be useful. And then if you want to do other shit, like you got all these abilities that make your class feel cool. I mean, and you don't have to press those abilities. You don't have to be fucking scared beasting to kill
Yeah,
fucking
but
whatever raid boss. But it's nice to
it's
have it.
nice to have that flavor on top. Yeah, exactly. So that for me is what I would have
Yeah.
wanted to see out of that. I'm glad that they are off the view of we need to add this stuff back in. It was a mistake. But for me, it feels like whoever they got to decide what comes back for Hunter has never played the fucking class.
Yeah.
I mean, the kill shot is amazing, but I think that's just because so many people wanted it. Like literally every tweet that I saw, every person that would ever say, "What's one ability that you'd bring back from Hunter?" It was always kill shot, right? And so I think that's why
Yo,
they
I
brought
want
kill
I want
shot back.
Snake Trap back. That was a cool
You want
ability.
what?
Snake Trap.
Uh, yeah, that was a while ago, but yeah, that would be
Legacy
cool.
boys.
They removed that what
The
in I
snaky
think
boys.
in Legion. Yeah. No, that those are cool. I like
Um,
those.
but yeah. So abilities coming back, that's cool. Sort of depends on the how we implement that. So some other things. What do you think about the level squish? Going back to
I
vanilla
actually like that.
levels?
No, I actually think that that's probably like a good concept because I always think it's like God, it must be so weird if you just like are a new player coming back into the game. I actually would think it would be cool if they did like this whole level squish and then they maybe just like stop doing like the character boost because realistically the character boost makes so much sense where you have like the WoW the way it is because why the fuck would you ever like want to just level like it just all that content hasn't been retuned and it's just so weird to
For
like experience it
For
like
me, the most important thing for the level squish is how they handle talents going forward. If
yes
it's, hey,
yeah
there's no new lines of talents, there's no new whatever, and talents continue being for most of this, there's no choice, there's no changing,
Yeah.
and the ones that are there are so unimpactful that you could forget to take it and you barely fucking notice, then the level squish will exacerbate that.
Yeah.
Conversely, if they get that right, then it will like we'll be fine. We won't care at max level. You're like max level is max level. It doesn't matter whether that number says 60 or 600.
Yeah.
Um, but now the thing that those different tiers of levels deliver, the different talents, like that now being an important piece is what this all hinges on. So I
Right.
think people will focus on the level squish rather than the piece that matters and probably make a bunch of mistakes as a result. Yeah.
hmm
Yeah. Hopefully it's not that bad. But I think it's interesting that you can choose what zone to level in.
yeah I really like that
Um,
like it gives you a way to like it's really hard to actually experience the content now it's like you just like level through it so fast that
yeah.
it's like weird you
I
you,
mean,
you
it's great.
never get to like finish
Leveling's
quests
yeah. I mean, leveling's like worthless, right? And like in class, I think that's one thing they took from classic is that people actually want like a storyline and stuff like that that you can semi follow
yeah
and like level up and finish the storyline. Whereas currently you literally do 5 quests and you're like, all right, next zone. It's like it doesn't
Yeah,
even matter.
exactly.
Um,
Or if you do the story, it's like so super flashy or whatever, and then sometimes it's some super flashy story, and then you're like, oh well, I probably shouldn't finish this because I got to go to the next zone.
yeah,
Then you're in class and you're like, holy fuck, I need more quests. Like I'm out of quests.
yeah,
I guess I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna like,
yeah. I
and
mean, I
I mean
think
it's cool.
I think we're running all the way back to classic where you have to do every
There's
single
a middle
zone.
ground.
Yeah.
There's a middle ground.
I think this is a good middle ground, and it also encourages people, like newer players, if you haven't done the storyline before, to go back and level a new character and like do a different story every time, right?
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
I
because
think
there
it
is so
def
much in the
yeah, I
like
think
there's all these quests that like people just don't get to experience anymore.
yeah,
Like there's so much of the game that they haven't gotten to experience. I think that's why there's a lot of appeal of classic too. Like there's all these things that players have just never experienced, and like man, I
yeah.
really wish I could.
Yeah. So I think this is actually very good, like what they're doing. But like Proc said, it'll be interesting to see how they scale certain things per, whatever. Um, because as we've seen before, every time they do some sort of squish, there's always trinkets from past expansions that are super OP, until they fix it and
Yeah,
hot fix it and random stuff like that. And so we'll see. We'll see how they end up doing it, but
I don't understand how they like mess that up when they do those squishes when it's like, I mean, they just make it. I don't know. It's so weird.
they
I
just
feel
don't
like
think
they
about
could
it,
just
right?
make the
It's not
yeah.
something they think about. It's like, oh, let's go look at Wrath of the Lich King trinkets. They might be
I feel
super
like
OP.
they need like one consultant
Well, but even
from
if they're squishing, I
each
just don't
class,
understand how
and the
that goes through.
requirement is that consultant like raids or PvPs at a
That's what
high
I'm
level, and
saying.
they're just
Like,
like approach this the
Yeah,
way they would,
I
but not
absolutely agree.
like development of the class, just literally okay, this is just dropped. What do you do? And get that whole I found this
that's what
fucking
I'm
broken,
saying. Like,
I got
not
this
even
broken thing, and just be like, oh yeah, whoops.
right. Like, not
That's
even
why I
from a
was mind
tuning
blown.
perspective, but just from like a like,
Enjoyment.
hey, like you need people that know the shit out of their class because like I don't remember what it was last expansion, that rogue weapon that back in Lich King where it does like shadow damage, right? And it worked with Blade Flurry, and then you just do like you put in your offhand and you're just doing 10% shadow damage with Blade Flurry in your offhand, even though you're
Mm,
equipping an item that's 100 eye levels lower than the standard, right? It's just like
yeah,
random shit
and
like
it would have
that.
been so quick for the right person to
Right.
spot that. And I'll give you a hint that that big fucking building with the orc on a fucking wolf outside and the values that you don't believe or follow written all around it. Everyone in that building is not that person. Don't listen to them. They're the wrong people to ask.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I think they could do like I'm glad they've been communicating a lot more recently, but I think they can still like not even hire them as a consultant, but there are so many people per class that would just do it for free
for
Yeah,
free.
you
No,
don't
I
need
mean
just because
to
they
fucking
want
that's
to fix
basically
the
what does
game,
it do
right?
for
Like,
free?
yeah, exactly. That's what they have us as the PvPers doing, and they have that like that feedback thing,
but they
and
don't
it's like,
even listen to that
yeah.
because
It's
they
funny
do.
because they basically they said that that's the only way they only want like the productive feedback. Like, they try to use that as an excuse. Oh, players don't give
So
good
okay,
feedback.
so they 100% like if you tell them, "Hey, this is bugged," like and it's breaking the class, that is 100% their top priority. But anything
Yeah,
else, it's like, "Hey, this is undertuned. Hey, this doesn't work at all. Hey, this is useless. Hey, whatever." They're like, that's like super back burner and they'll get to that eventually, which means never, right? And
yeah,
so because they do that shit for the MDI too. Like all the MDI people, they're like, well, we need logs and like clips to see if it's reproducible. And so all the MDI people will literally sit there and clip it 5 different ways and do logs or whatever, and it's still not fixed, right? And
yeah,
so
dude.
it's so
I'm also
annoying.
not a fan of
We
this
have we have done
whole.
this. We have done that so many times, dude.
Yeah,
Holy fuck.
so I'm not a fan of this whole approach where they ignore people or like disrespect them so much for so long that people wind up behaving a bit hostile in the way they give feedback and then going, see, we told you they didn't give the feedback, we didn't listen. No, dude, that's a symptom of the way that you mishandle your engagement with players. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that you shouldn't be looking at saying, see, this is why we're right and the players are wrong. You should be looking at that saying, wow, we are really mishandling the relationship with these players. How do we fix this?
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. I mean, like, like, I feel like you should be able to, if you've played games, like, you should be able to discern the difference between people that are actually frustrated and people that are giving, like, yeah, there are people that are going to give bad feedback, and I mean, obviously, like, yeah, if you're just telling people to kill themselves, like, yeah, you're being a fucking, obviously, you're being obnoxious, but like, you still should be able to tell, like, I could tell if someone is like flaming me in like a fucking Twitch stream if they're like actually giving like some feedback or if they're actually just being a fucking idiot.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. What do we think about the new zones, the covenants, all that jazz that was announced?
I feel like the covenants seem like it could cause problems if it's like you can't change
Yeah.
change them. It's cool
So
concept.
they said that you can change them. There's a price to change them. I don't know if it's like at changing Azerite where it's like an increasing gold cost or something like that. They didn't announce that, but you can change a
What I
covenant
what I
somehow.
will say like about the zones is that
I don't like
the
the
reason
inability.
why we're all quite passionate about this is at the core we still do like really love this game, and
Yeah, of course. I
those
don't give a fuck if I did.
zones for a long time now, like that kind of thing, the new zones, the way it plays through, the way it hangs together, the storyline that builds up when you're on your second character and actually reading the quest text and blah blah blah, They actually fucking nail that. They hit that out of the park. It's fantastic. Those zones look beautiful. Everything pulls together as a pretty cool experience. And again, they've nailed that. So yeah, like actually really positive about that. It's just that that is not enough for a game like
To be
that
good.
will live or die by how we experience those zones. And
Hmm.
how we experience those zones is getting the class right.
I agree.
But
Yeah.
yeah, the actual hey, how do these look from a development point of view? They look fucking great.
I
Um,
don't I still don't like the Covenant abilities because
Did you
I think that
see? I like
yeah,
that. So like one of the issues in Mythic Plus is the Rogue Shroud, right? Obviously.
yeah,
And then if you look at the Covenant abilities, literally all of them give you some sort of shroud or skip or like teleport or something ability.
yeah,
And so it's like, hey, we're not going to nerf the Rogue Shroud. Let's just give everyone a stealth ability to skip past everything. And so I
yeah.
thought that was really funny. I was like, oh, okay. But but even
The
even then, you have like the damage abilities, right? So you have your one passive, like the skip or the teleport or whatever it is, but then you have
mhm.
each damage ability, and the way they are describing it is like, okay, you have or you have a mage, right? And he puts a dot, and one of them it just does shadow damage. One of them explodes and does AOE damage. One of them just does instant frost damage, and then so it's like the same ability, but it's modified based on what covenant you're in. And I think
my
that
opinion on the covenants will change dramatically depending on do these work in raids and
So,
instance PvP.
according to the test that I was doing at BlizzCon, it's a zone ability. And so it's
Yeah.
like you walk in and it's like a zone extra action button and you can only use it in that zone.
Yeah,
If
so I
that's the
expect
that's
it to
case,
okay.
be the
yeah,
same as like in WAD when you
Yeah,
have
the
your hey,
follower.
in this zone you
yeah,
fire the cannon thing, in this zone you fucking get the summon. And if that's the case, make it as fucking broken as you want
right.
because it's just fun. And yeah, it'll fuck with world PvP a bit, but it's in a
Nah,
different way, and
that's
that's
chill
fun
though.
too. That's okay.
Yeah,
If you the reason why I like that is because you have a lot more flexibility and you can be a lot more fun with it. If you bring that into raids, if you bring it into instance PvP, now you're required to not let it be too broken. This one has to be as good as that one. Like if it's just in that context, then I don't care if the mage one is 10 times better than the hunter one or whatever.
right.
As long as our one's fun and their one's fun, then great, we both get to have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's only when it's and then you can do so much when you don't have to care about it. So that's how I think that it's important
yeah,
they approach it. We'll
Yeah,
set
because
that pattern.
what I was concerned was pretty much exactly that. Because I know they said they wanted to be like an Aldor and Scryer thing. I'm like, well, if they want that, I feel like the best thing to do is like just like have like a fucking. I swear I don't understand what happened with having like the enchants and like give it a different type of enchant, give it a different type of like maybe item or
well, so
whatever. That's not like super crazy
you have
because
to
I mean,
think anything
sorry.
that's usable like in raid or PvP or whatever, right? If it's faction dependent or covenant dependent, whatever they want to do, there are always going to be people that don't care, and then there's always going to be people that want to min max, right? And the people that want to min
Yeah,
max are the people that voice their opinions and say, "Hey, we're forced to do this because this is better than everything else," right? And they're going to be the ones that say, "Hey, we don't have any player agency because we have to do this because it's the best." But they want everyone to feel like you can do whatever you want based on the transmog, based on your ability, based on whatever, right? And so there's
yeah.
always going to be limiting factors if you're able to bring it into raid, into anything competitive, right? Like if it's just world questing, I don't think anyone cares, right? But
Yeah, but I mean, I like with an enchant type thing, I'm kind of okay with it because it's like if you're the min maxer, it's cool. Like you don't have to be like super attached to it.
yeah,
Yeah,
Like
I
and
think this is a good way to solve it, in that an enchant either way is going to be boring, and it's like, oh, it's a little bit of this versus a little bit of that. Cool, that's fine.
yeah,
That's whatever, and it's easy to balance. Or min maxers could choose one over the other and let that drive them. But generally, it's fine. It doesn't matter too much. And then you can use the zone wide ability to have fun and do something crazy, and you're not having to worry about balancing it. And like that seems a good way to handle it. Whoever's making those decisions, good. You keep doing your thing, um, as long as that's the way that
yeah.
it winds up
I
panning out.
I mean, if it's like holy shit, dude, it's so weird that I keep feeling I'm talking about class. I don't even like it that much. But like if I think about the way things are with class, it's like when you're choosing professions, like you could choose like the different type of whatever leatherworking, whatever like fucking engineering. I mean, that's like a cool thing because it's like, the, yeah, you can min max and you could choose one, whatever. But it's like there's still one of them is going to be useful for someone specifically, you know, and you could feel like it's kind of cool, like, oh, I'm a hunter, I want this profession, like I feel cool with this, you know. It,
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
I mean, it is cool like that. It's like, you know, different classes wanting a different profession is good for them, but then also having something that benefits everyone else. So it's like, oh, not only do you get this bonus for yourself, but you also get to make money, blah blah blah. Like then there's an economy and shit like that. Like things in that sense where it's like, yeah, you can min max it, but like even if you are min maxing it, like it doesn't feel like it's too
make or
oppressive.
break,
And then at the
right?
same
Yeah.
time, yeah, it doesn't feel as oppressive. Like if you want to do it for the min max, it's cool,
Yeah.
but then you don't feel too horrible about it either way, and because it's not like so overbearing, like it makes it enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like I always like the profession bonuses too in like Mississippi area. Like you could be jewel crafting for the extra gem or no, for the bigger gems, or you could have enchanting and you get the bonus enchant or whatever, you know, stuff like that. Like they would all balance out. Or you could be like, oh, I want to engineer so I could have this special effect, like damage increase, like whatever the engineering gloves, and it's like like it doesn't matter that much, but I mean, if you wanted something cool, like a cool product, like fuck it, you could go take it. I
Yeah.
think Taylor's had something like that too. And overall, like they're still pretty balanced. But you know, if you wanted something that just prefer like that you like for your playstyle more, then go for it. You know, if you wanted
Yeah.
to min max for PVE, then you'd probably just do jewel crafting, blacksmithing, and just get, you know, whatever big gems. But then if you wanted to PvP, you could be like, oh well, you know what? Fuck it. I want the burst of damage or stuff like that. Like, and it doesn't feel super overbearing because you could be fine without it. I mean, it doesn't feel necessary. And then if it doesn't feel necessary, but it's still a cool bonus for either one, like it lets you get like an attachment.
Yeah.
But when you're like forced into it, it's just like psychologically you're just not going to want to do it.
Yeah.
But if you feel like you have the option, like it's it's going to make you want to do it. Like if you don't have to do it, people are going to want to do it.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So just looking at I don't know. I really hope that they're not able to bring into raid, because just looking at the hunter one, resonance trap,
Yeah,
it gives
it
you
seems retarded
crit
in arena.
damage or whatever, and then you can like see whoever's in the area zone or whatever. But I think it's so stupid because imagine having to trap the boss to get crit damage before you like do your opener or whatever. Or imagine trying to do that in PvP. Like landing traps is already fucking annoying in PvP, right? Like you have to stun or whatever. Or I guess easy.
Yeah.
It's easy for survival, but like for all the other specs, you have to have a stun or you have to
Hey
coordinate with
man.
someone to do it, and it's so annoying. And I just can't even imagine relying on a trap as part of your rotation in PvE.
Dude, I honestly do not get why they never gave back scatter trapping. Holy fuck. I can't believe they didn't announce that. Like I swear that's something that should
Yeah.
like the whole just place a trap and have it travel time, like it just doesn't work, dude. Like scatter trapping just needs to be a thing. Like it just I swear it's so shit to be the hunter in the new version of the trap, and it's if I swear it feels so much more retarded to play against it too. Like when you just see, oh, he just chucked a
Oh
trap,
look, a
cool.
trap
Like
flying through there. Let me sidestep it.
yeah, or but then when they were right on top of you, oh, it's instant, and I had nothing I could do. Like then that feels stupid. But I liked when it was like scatter, and then there's like the arm time, and then you see it, and then it's like telegraphed, and then the enemy is like, oh, I should play around that, and then the hunter's like, ooh, I should make sure that they can't play around that, you know. And then it's cool for everyone, and then you get like your little extra
Yeah.
CC time. It's nice.
All right, so last thing, Shadowlands, I want to touch on. So the Torghast Tower of the Damned. So if y'all haven't seen this, it's
Everyone's a
basically
winner.
yeah, it's basically an endless, sort of like Mythic Plus, where it just keeps scaling up and up. Sort of just an endless tower of, sort of Mage Tower-esque, right? You just sort of stuff spawns, you kill it, and just gets harder and harder.
Reminds me more of Proving Grounds. It's
Proving
just
Grounds, there
a
you go. Yeah,
dynamic take on Proving Grounds. It's just like,
yeah,
yeah, all right. If something has to go on the chopping board to get other things better, let it be that.
yeah.
Like
Uh,
it's cool and yay and great, but they have some actual real things to sort
Yeah.
out.
Well, so I mean, if you didn't know, but basically so we're crafting legendaries, right, in Shadowlands, and to craft legendaries, we have to do the tower to get pieces that drop for that legendary. And so the higher you go, they
That's
imply the higher
annoying.
you go, the more pieces or the more frequent drops you get, right? And so like you're gonna have to do the tower to build your legendaries at some
Yeah, which
point.
mean, but that means then they can't. Then they're gonna have to make it easy so that everyone can get it, which means they can't make it
I,
enjoyable. See, I don't like that because like if there's like a cool
That
bonus, like a
doesn't
reward
have
that you
to
don't need.
be. Yeah, that doesn't have to be a decision though. It doesn't have to be. Um,
I feel like,
everyone needs to get this, and therefore it has to be easy. Fuck it, make it hard
yeah,
still.
but
And if you
I
can't do
feel
no,
it,
like if they're
I think
designing it
it's
that
gonna
way,
be I think it's gonna be sort of like how conflict and strife is, right? Like currently you can get 1,000 rating, which any idiot can get 1,000 rating, right? And you'll get one drop per week, and it'll take you a while if you're at
okay,
1,000 rating. But if you're at 2,100 rating, yeah, it's way harder to get that, right? But it takes you 2 weeks to get the same thing it takes someone 8 weeks, right? And so I think it's gonna be similar. Like the higher you go, the more of whatever you get, and you might be able to get some like your legendary faster. But I think any casual person is still going to be able to get whatever they want. It
yeah,
just might
actually,
take longer.
it's actually that is actually okay if they do it like that. That also is fine as long as it's not something like, oh, like you have to do this and you just have to get to this level and then you get it at this level.
I don't think
Then
it's going to be
then it'll
like
feel
that.
stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, cause they do it like that, then it'll feel stupid because then they'll be like, well, fuck. If everyone needs to have their legendary, just like everyone need to have their like, you know, Azurite piece, I guess we probably should make it so that everyone can do it, just like
Yeah.
anyone can do the fucking Azurite quest or
Yeah.
artifact quest, and
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I'm just assuming, but I don't think it would be like that. Like, you have to reach the
yeah,
50th floor to get this legendary piece, right? Like, I don't think that they would do that. I mean, they could. It's, Blizzard, but whatever.
yeah. I mean, there has to be the con. See, I'm not as naive as Prox would like to think. Like I could see something. I could think that like, wow, this could definitely go very wrong.
Yeah, but the good thing is that we're hunters, and most likely we're going to be OP for this. Just go BM and just let
Sure.
your pet tank everything, right? So hopefully that's true. I know you can go into groups of like three, four, five, or whatever, and it's supposed to scale. Um, but if we don't need a tank, and just make everything super easy for solo. Um, so I feel like that is gonna be one thing. BM hunters are just gonna like have a solo fest. All those solo people that do solo content are gonna
Yeah,
do this.
yeah, I feel that.
But yeah. All right. So Shadowlands, talked a lot about Shadowlands. Let's touch on the upcoming 8.3 stuff. So Prox,
Fuck corrupted shit.
have you been doing
Corrupted
raid
shit.
testing at all?
I haven't been doing raid testing because it's either like stupidly early in the morning or it's when my
Okay.
kids are up and I'm hanging out with them more or
So
less.
I've been
But
doing,
lots of people in our guild have been, so I've still across
yeah,
everything that's
I think I've
developing.
done every boss minus Ny'alotha, right? Because they haven't released him yet. The raid is actually looking super fun. Like the most of the fights are pretty well designed, and like the inside the raid actually looks amazing.
I feel like the
Um,
raid team is actually really good. The raid team is like on point.
yeah,
Like they have been. I rating in general. I feel like the actual like boss encounter, like all that shit. All the cinematics you get, like they're all so sick.
yeah.
You
I
know.
will
Yeah, the
say,
only flaw, my only complaint, and this is my only complaint, is a minor one about the raid team and their development at the moment, is I don't feel like they have a good take on here's the pantheon of classes. This is these people's niche. This is these people's niche. This is these
Yes,
people's
I
niche.
agree.
Let's make it so that there's decent representation throughout
yeah.
the instance. Sometimes you get like a tier where it's like the whole tier is the strength.
That
It's like,
okay, that is one thing I've heard tanks complain about. They went a total 180. So right, like you had monks OP this tier, right? In the last two tiers, really. But monks this expansion have been super good. And so this raid, they went total 180, and now everyone's thinking like prop pallies are going to be king because I think 10 out of the 12 bosses do nothing but magic damage. And so all of those tanks, like warriors that are all physical tanks and monks that are all physical, are just going to be dog shit, right? Because everything is
Yeah, they
magic
should have
damage.
it so that
And
like
so,
they're. Sorry, you gonna? No, I mean honestly, I feel like there just should be a way that you either just have it like bounce, like that you have a different type of strategy you could do for tanking depending on the fight, or like you could rotate tanks, or you just like need two tanks to rotate. Like I feel like There's like probably simpler ways to like work around that,
Yeah,
like
I mean, part of that's also class tuning, right? Like spec tuning and stuff like
yeah,
that. So it's not necessarily the raid design per se,
Yeah, yeah. Like,
but
but part of it's the or having it. Some classes are able to change their niche when they
right,
change their talent setup or that sort of thing. There could be a bit of that, or if you had a decent change between you like, oh well, you still want to bring a hunter, but you want to be marked for that and be in for that.
yeah.
Like, how often do you get that? It's normally a case of flip a coin. One of these
So
two. It's
there
going to be one of them.
is okay. So looking at all the different bosses, so we've done. I think we've tested 11 out of the 12 of them, if I'm not mistaken. The first 8, I want to say, are super hunter friendly or BM friendly. Marksman, you could probably play marksman, survival. Not
Okay.
all of them are survival friendly, melee friendly, right? Just melee in
hmm
general. But the first
survival being melee is a lie. Let's be
the
real.
first like 7 or 8 are super BM friendly, and then the last like 2 or 3 are like not hunter friendly at all. Like super multi-dot, like you have tentacles spawning across the room and you have to multi-dot them, and then this the most recent one, I think it's the Carapace of N'alotha, right? The one we did yesterday. So you have what is that one
Oh, the
boss?
line of sight issues for
Well,
BM
well,
just made
not
it
only
not a
that. So
thing for
okay, so
now.
you
Hey.
have this giant room, right? And you have 4 holes, and this giant tentacle can pop up out of one of those holes and just literally just like in the middle of the room, right? And so this giant tentacle is LOS, and so if you're on the opposite side of the tentacle, you literally have to walk all the way around the tentacle. Not only that, oh, it's a spine of Deathwing, right? So the tentacle flops, and you have a target at the point of the tentacle, and melee have to walk up the tentacle and start beating on the tentacle to kill the tentacle for it to despawn. Our pets can't even climb up the tentacle. And so we just sit there and like kill ads on the bottom of the tentacle, and so it's like so like I don't know. I really hope they fix that because that was very not fun as BM. Um, but other than that, like the fights themselves are like very well designed, I think, for the most part. And they seem really fun.
Yeah,
So
like the team that is the raid team are just head and shoulders above everyone else. Like, any complaints we have, any issues we have, are so minor compared to
yeah. Oh
everything
yeah,
else.
for
It's
sure,
like
for sure.
that team actually deserves some fucking credit. They need to have like a big fucking massive like Blizzard pizza party, and then everyone shows up and everyone just has to watch that team eat.
Yeah.
No one else is allowed to.
I mean, realistically, I think the only problem is that when that's the only thing that's get like you still aren't getting like what you technically want out of an MMO. Like the raid has to be like part of it, but
Yeah,
you're not getting
yeah,
like
yeah.
every other
It
aspect.
can't be the
That's
be all and end all.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Because rating isn't supposed to be the entire point of it. Like the MMO is like so many other things than just that.
Yeah.
I think.
All right. So some other things. 8.3. Dilly, I know you're going to be a furry when it comes out. You're going Volpera?
What?
Dude, you're going
What?
Volpera.
No, fuck no, dude.
Yeah, you are,
Fuck
dude.
that.
You're gonna be a Mechanome, dude. Mechanomes are OP in
Oh my god,
PvP.
those things are so they definitely are.
They're
And you know what?
broken.
Those ugly bitches, mages and rogues are gonna be playing that. Just what they
Dude,
need. Another like fucking
imagine.
safeguard.
Okay, their racial is a legit a shaman talent, right? Like it's the
No, no, I
exact
no
same
that
thing
no
as a
that they
shaman
made
talent.
that. No, don't worry, they made that a PvP trinket too. So they just have that as well. So they just get both of those. And the game is like already super slow in PvP, so don't worry, mages and rogues and in warlocks they can all play them. And also the god classes, also immortal is don't worry, they get that shit. Like
Dude, just
because they
take it
really need
to 80% dampening and they won't heal, right?
dude. Yeah, but then once it's 80% dampening, then they just use their cooldowns when you run in, and then you lose because your class also has no. It's really good.
Yeah. All right, what
Corrupted
else?
items, crit
I
damage
I, I
here.
actually
Yes.
dude,
A
I actually
step
They
I
in
they
the
do not
nerfed
right
like
it
what I see.
though.
direction and not far enough.
They did nerf
Everything that I
it,
see with
but
8.3 does not make me happy as a PvPer. I'm not gonna
okay,
lie.
so the corruption, everything is totally fine balance wise, like minus the crit damage, right? Like the crit
Yeah,
damage is
yeah,
the
yeah,
only
yeah.
thing
And
that
it's still too good. The nerf was not
so
heavy
they did
handed
nerf
enough.
it, and so it's now 2%, 3%, and 4% crit damage instead of well, it was like 5, 7, something like
Yeah.
that. So it's nerfed, still super OP, right? But the nerf is definitely better, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it's still it sucks for us
Well,
because
yeah, it was
pets
fucking
don't.
ridiculously broken, and now it's only broken. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's better. The same way, if someone was to burst in here and be like, "I can stab you 30 times in the chest or twice," I'll be like, "I guess stab me twice. Still getting fucking stabbed. Not too keen for that."
um, but yeah, all of the other stuff. I mean, for DPS, we basically have the crit damage, and then you have the percent of whatever stat, right? Percent crit, percent verse, whatever. And I think there's another one. It's like, oh no, those are the only two DPS ones, right? Because you have the avoidance one, you have leech, you have I don't remember what all they are, but I think for hunters, I think we're gonna want to end up going for percent crit instead of crit damage, or BM at least. BM is gonna want percent crit because it doesn't crit damage still does not work on our pets. Yay. Marksman, I think the only redeeming factor for marksman is the crit damage, so you're gonna want to stack the crit damage, right? Probably go a
Yeah, I mean, the
couple.
flip side is you have to play this fucking iteration of marks. I'd
Yeah.
rather just shove a splintered chopstick up my cock hole.
Yeah.
Yikes. And then for survival, obviously you're gonna want the crit damage, right? Or percent haste. Either one of those. Um, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
in
Fuck
terms
it.
of
Give
the
it the hay.
in terms of
More.
the corruption, like it's OP, but remember you're limited by corruption, right? And so I think right off the bat, like you have the legendary cloak, which reduces corruption, and that scales, right? That's like the new artifact power scaling up thing that we have. Um, I guess the cloak, it's similar to Legion, right? How you'd like every week or two you'd level that up. Or was it Legion? No, Mop, the cloak, right? The cloak, the legendary cloak and Mop, where you leveled it up every week or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
the cloak was not.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
totally knew about that.
Yeah.
This cloak feels like the least impactful and uh
It's just a piece that you have, right?
relevant
I
legendary ever.
I
Like
think
It's not a
outside of
legendary,
the
dude. It's just a
specific
piece.
yeah,
It's
it's
just
just a
a
piece
piece
you
of
have to
gear that
have, right?
everyone needs.
It's like
Yep.
the
It's
neck,
just
right?
like
It's like the neck this
yeah.
tier. Yeah.
which
Um
at which point don't make it orange, don't call it a
yeah.
legendary.
Yeah.
But
Stop
I
Exactly.
I think it'll be
besmirching the name.
I think it'll be good in the sense that it's one less piece that we have to get from raid or like our weekly box or whatever, right? We don't have a shit cloak that we just get from our box anymore because they don't drop cloaks supposedly. So, of course, week
Yeah.
one everyone's gonna get
Something else
cloaks
I
and
can
be.
trashy.
um,
Yay, just more braces to go in the toilet.
um, but yeah, I mean, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so corruption is obviously limited in the sense that you don't want over. I think 60 corruption was like where shit started hitting the fan, right? I think 20. I think the threshold's like 20, 40, 60 or something like that. I think it's every 20 you get
Something
like a
like
new
that, yeah.
effect, right? So under 20 you don't have any effects. Over 20 you get one effect, right? So you either get slowed or you get like a cloud of shit spawning. Um, 40 corruption, you get two effects. You get slowed and you get a cloud of shit. And the more corruption, the bigger the cloud of shit gets. 60 corruption, you get three effects. I think you start adding like a little tentacle that spawns. You have to kill it, right? Something like that. Um, so obviously there's a
Can you
limit to how
still
much
feign that
corruption.
after someone
Yeah.
that was good, yeah.
Um, so you can't just get, 4% crit damage on every piece because you're gonna have a bajillion corruption, right? And so there is a limit, but eventually we'll be able to stack a lot of corrupted items because of the cloak and stuff like that. So I guess that's sort of like the soft nerf
The soft and
or
rage, yeah.
soft, yeah, the
I
soft
feel
nerf to
like
the
this
raid and stuff.
wasn't it. In terms of ways to tackle the problem with Titan forging and
Yeah. This is not it,
raid
cheap.
adjusting, I feel like this was not it. But oh
Hmm.
I
well.
so I
It's
heard from a little birdie that Titan forging is not gone completely. That this is a temporary. They're experimenting
yeah.
with corruption, and the next expansion, Titan forging, is back. I don't know if that's true. I
No,
really hope that's not
man.
true.
Fuck
But
my shit life, bro. I don't
That
even
would
want to
be
play
a fan-
classic, man. They
I tell
want
you
me to
what,
play
that would be
this.
a fantastic example of them going, we're listening to players, but not really. Like
Yeah.
our thing. Like just whoever has that strong an ego that they can't handle some negative fucking feedback about their idea, take that person and fire them, because that person, like, catering to that fucking ego is only going to harm your company in the future. Fire that fucking person. Get some people with enough spine that they can handle some negative feedback and actually listen to their customer base. Jesus
Yeah.
fucking Dilly
Yeah,
fucking Christ.
honestly, it's actually ridiculous. Like you have to be able to take like criticism. It's like they don't have people that even play games anymore. Like they
Yeah.
definitely do. There are people. There's so many good people that work at that company, but it's like the people that are at I swear it's just like a top end problem. Seems super fucked. Like from what
They
I've
have
seen.
some very good people who actually play it, and I'm just like, okay, so sure, it's one thing to not listen to us, but I know if you gave those guys a platform to speak, they would say at least
Yeah,
some things that
I
matter.
swear
So
they just don't get that, because no matter who you are, any negative feedback, it's just like not like it just has to be any fucking shit they take. Wow, great job, Ian. That was such a massive shit. Like I'm so proud of you. Like honestly, what an honor it is to work at Blizzard Entertainment. Like I don't know, it's like
I hope to shit in the
if I
cubicle
if
next
I
week so
wanted,
we can reach under and hold hands while you pound one out.
bro, if I wanted to be like I don't know, if I wanted to be dealing with shit like that, I'd be living in like a fucking communist country, okay?
God.
You
Okay,
do.
moving on. Moving on. Okay, so what else do we have? Oh, the new Mythic Plus affix for 8.3. It is called Awakened, right? And I
Is it
actually
reaping again? If
no.
it's
Well,
reaping
okay.
again, I'm happy. Otherwise,
It's
I'm not.
actually so it's not
Bring
reaping,
back,
but I did a
bring
lot of
back
testing on
reaping.
it, and it actually it's way better than beguiling, first of all. But basically what it is, there's four obelisks per dungeon, and there's a random obelisk placed throughout. I think it's gonna change locations based on each week, right? They have to randomize it somehow. Um, but for example, like the first pull in a Tal'Dazar off to the left, right? Like you have those three mobs and the four mobs behind them, right? There'd be an obelisk in that first pack. And so you can't click the obelisk in combat. You have to be totally out of combat to click it. So you kill whatever mob the obelisk is surrounding, and you can click the obelisk to go down into like the shadow realm or whatever. And then there's a mini boss when you click the obelisk, right? And so there's four different mini bosses per each obelisk has a different mini boss, right? And so kill a mini boss. Wherever you kill the mini boss spawns another obelisk, and basically the first obelisk and where you killed the mini boss make a portal to each other. And so you can click to go down, go to the next one, click to come up. So you can drag the mini boss wherever you want. So if you killed that first pack in a Taldazar, you can drag the mini boss up to that first boss, kill the mini boss there, and you have a portal skipping all the mobs between that first pack and the first boss. And so it's really cool because you don't need rogues necessarily. I think rogues are so useful, but you can sort of make different paths depending on where you kill the mini boss. And I'm sure there's going to be some bullshit about, certain people you're going to be able to like do too many bosses at the same time, or whatever. Like there's going to be something people are going to figure out to make it to cheese it, right? But I think the concept is a lot more fun. Um, in the sense that you don't have beguiling limiting you. It's more like, yes,
It
you have an
feels like
obstacle.
another this wasn't it moment. Like
It I think it could be
so
better,
so so all
but
the underlying problems with Mythic Plus exist, and their solution was let's try give a weird rogue script to everyone
yeah,
and
so that's
keep all
basically
those
it,
other
right. So it's
underlying
like
problems.
they didn't really solve anything, but at least this affix gives you some positive, right? Like it's not
Yeah.
only like here's an obstacle, here's an additional obstacle in addition to all these affixes. It's like here's an obstacle, but you can use it to your advantage, right? And so I think it
Yeah, yeah.
feels a
So
little
it's at
better.
least changing it. So that's okay, but it's just I don't know. It's
Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually like obstacles like that. Like where if you can that sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, like it
I don't
seemed
as
know.
really
long as
fun
they're
to
not
me.
introducing more things that are um hey, here's a reason why you don't want to do AoE damage in this situation or can't do AoE damage in this situation. Like that's that's their fundamental like problem with Mythic Plus at the moment for a lot of things. Maybe it's not the problem, but it is a problem. Is that they keep being under this illusion that it's a creative and challenging problem for players, and they'll enjoy solving the challenge. Where we say you can't AOE. No, dude, that just seems fucking unfun. Like people really like doing AOE damage,
Yeah,
and when you add fucking shit like just
like
yeah,
beguiling.
you know what I'm
Like,
trying to say.
yeah. So
Angry to say.
I I think the Aphex is really fun. And oh, one of the other caveats is you can't just skip all of them because if you get to the final boss of the instance and you haven't killed any of the obelisks, all four of the mini bosses come spawn as soon as you pull the last boss. And so, and you can't, some of them you can't, like the four mini bosses, one of them fears you every 10 seconds. One of them does like, puts a debuff on the tank and the tank takes 100% extra damage. One of them, so like there are certain ones that you cannot skip. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think it's interesting. Um, I don't know. I really like the positive aspect of it. Like I think beguiling, they could have improved it by every time you kill an emissary, you get like 500 haste for a minute, or something like that, where it's like, hey, you just beat this obstacle. Here's like a small benefit that helps you do the dungeon, right? I think something like that could have been fun, but yeah. Um, so moving on, we have the Mythic Plus. We talked about, let's see, what else? I talked about the races. Um, Legendary Cloak. What else? Did we talk about everything for 8.3?
PvP will be bad, bro.
PvP. Well, I mean, nothing's changed in PvP, right?
No, I mean, they're making some nerfs that are gonna hurt PvP. They're putting in new trinkets, which I already know are gonna be fucking stupid as fuck.
Oh my God, dude.
Um,
Prox, did you see the trinket that they added for the
the
raid?
PvP trinket is gonna be. By the way, the PvP trinket probably be useful in in PvE. It's like literally like gives you like a takes you to the Shadow Realm or some shit. I don't know. It
Is
just
it
sounds fucking
the
stupid.
set bonus
Yeah,
trinkets
the
No,
set
or
bonus where you
the
have to pick up an orb. Freaking,
yeah,
what's the
yeah.
engine from what that the mother?
What was one of them? One of them is like a decent sized haste proc and haste for other people. The
Yeah,
other
a
was
crit. So it
woman.
gives you a
I know
shield,
what
and
it's.
while you have the shield, you gain crit. So they weren't working on
Yeah,
DTR.
and it
So
was a huge amount of crit too. So it's
it
actually
was
quite nice.
3,000 crit, but the crit only persists while you have the shield. So as soon as you drop the
Correct.
shield, you lose the crit. And so if you use it defensively, or like say you get the shield and a big AoE goes out and pops your shield, you lose the crit. So could be good. It's a little RNG, but I mean obviously the shield is still good. It helps you survive. Um, but yeah. So on the
I
two
really like
trinkets,
though having that where you can use it offensively or defensively.
yeah. So according to on raid testing, when you equipped both of them, the set bonus, um, you only got the major set bonus, and you got rid of the other two set bonuses. Like the other two were grayed out, so you only got the orb one instead of the crit and the haste one. B- Because if you look at the orb one, it's like you pick up an orb and you get 5,000 agility for 15 seconds or something like that.
Well, that sorry, that's the only set bonus. There's not multiple set bonuses. He's saying when you got it, you didn't get the effect of the trinket. You just got the set bonus, and that's it.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, that's something different. That doesn't seem right.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I could see it because if you think about it, 5,000 agility plus 3,000 crit plus 2,000 haste is very OP. But if you look at it on the other side, if you only get the 5,000 agility, that's sort of mediocre for two trinkets, right? So,
Yeah, exactly. It's shit for two trinkets.
yeah,
Depending on the proc rate or whatever. Like if it's up all the fucking time, obviously that's different.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
because the hasted has a chance. It's a proc. The shield is have a chance, so you can't even use it. Like you can't control when you use that. The fact that
right,
neither of them are on use, so it's just straight up.
right.
Maybe they'll all align, but probably not very
Yeah, the
often.
crit and the haste only have
Um,
one RPPM, right? So they only proc once a minute. So it's not
yeah,
like it's
so I
basically like
wouldn't stress too much
the
about
crit's
that.
basically a Blightborn infusion, right? Like huge crit every minute or so. Oh, so wait,
And
something.
the edgy is just fucking dance of death, like more or less.
Yeah,
Like
Is it
basically
like?
a huge dance of death. Yeah, which is
it's not even
amazing, but
huge, right? Like that's what you're getting at the moment
oh,
from
one dance of death.
Triple
Right,
J.
right, right. Yeah. So we did not talk about the bow, right? So the weapon, the staff. We can talk about the new weapons.
There's fucking nothing to talk about right
The
now.
bow
Shit.
is very shit. Yeah.
Compared to
So
the other shit, so that's a
yeah,
balancing problem that they
yeah.
may
So
or
the
may
new
not
bow
address.
and the new raid is your auto shots reduce the remaining cooldown of a random hunter ability by 1 seconds. Now, this works for not only offensive abilities but defensive abilities. So currently, I
And
feel like it's
talents too, right?
and wait, what?
Talents. What if you?
Oh, and talents. Yeah,
What if
yeah.
you? What if you? Yeah,
So if you
dude,
use
that's literally
exhilaration,
the
there's a
stupidest
chance
shit.
that it reduces exhilaration. If you use
What if
misdirect,
you
there's a
took
chance it
camo?
reduces misdirect. If you use
Yeah, what if you
camo,
took
there's a
It's a
camo?
chance it
hunter
reduces
ability.
camo. It's
Yep,
any hunter
that's
ability. And so it's
how did yeah, no one thought of this. That's what I'm saying. There's literally no one that's in there. I swear there's no way that there's any like
no,
positive or negative feedback.
I already tweeted in the
Yeah.
Warcraft devs
So
and everything.
shit.
I was like, that's such bullshit because no one's
How
gonna
how
want
does
to
that
use.
ever get past and how do these things get like past internal
Oh yeah,
feedback? Because
well,
I just
that's
don't
what I'm saying.
understand.
Like, no
Yeah.
one's gonna want to use any defensive ability. It's like no, because then it might reduce my defensive ability instead of kill command or something. It's like why would you ever want to use it? Um, and so the one for the
You don't want to
two-handed.
use men pet. You literally don't want to
No,
keep
no,
your
no.
pet alive.
So well, yeah, you don't. So the pet ability, so you can use Spiritman, so it doesn't count for pet abilities, right? So if you use Spiritman or whatever, it doesn't count because
No, no,
it's your
no.
pet's
No,
ability.
I'm saying men
He's
pet.
talking about normal,
No,
like
no,
No, no,
men
no, Min
pet.
Pet. No, no, no. I know, I know.
The cooldown for it's
Min
like a
Pet,
10
yeah,
second.
you're not gonna want to use Min Pet, right?
Yeah,
Because
that's what I mean. That's retarded. What if you want it? What if you need to keep your pet alive? Oh, I tried to keep my pet alive. Sick. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's retarded. Oh, I just got punished for using my class ability
Oh, I
for my
know.
random fiesta.
But
Yeah, that is
okay,
stupid as
so
fuck.
let's look at the survival staff. Survival staff looks super OP. Have you seen that one?
yeah,
Your auto
Let me
attacks
keep this.
that's
bite into the target's soul, dealing 2% of your health and damage and healing you for 2% health.
Yeah, that seems kind
it's
of retarded. It's
Every
got
auto
incredibly
attack?
versatility.
strong. It's
Yeah.
there's no way that doesn't get nerfed.
Wait.
But
Oh, every auto attack. Oh yeah, that sounds
Every
retarded.
auto
I was
attack.
looking at
That's
this
every
no
auto attack
haste.
you do
That seems
2%
some
damage.
whack.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah,
And you
I
heal
guess I
for it,
have to
right?
raid now.
So that's good for survival. It's super OP for like bear tanks or like monk tanks, right? Because it's based on percent health, right? So if they have, I don't know, 1 million health, right? It's doing like pretty good amount of damage every auto attack.
yeah,
Um,
no,
and then
it's
but like
very very strong.
I just it sucks because this bow is so mediocre. But then you have like, have you seen the Blood Decay axe? Your mind's true potential is unlocked. Oh wait, no, that's not it. Hold on, where is it? Here. Gain Obsidian Skin, increasing your armor by 5%. Every 100% of your max health lost, explode with Obsidian Destruction, dealing shadow damage equal to 1,000% of your armor to all enemies within 20 yards. So I was looking at people using this for logs, and it was more than double of their top damaging ability. Because if you think about it for Blood Decay, they lose their HP every other global because they just heal it back up, right? And so they just yo-yo so crazy. And the Blood Decay theory crafters are joking that they were just gonna unequip their rings to have less stamina so that they lose more HP more often and deal more damage. I think it's so stupid.
Wait,
But
can you hover over the eye stock thing?
I
The the bot is the bottom one.
Oh, this is the
The
caster one,
very
yeah.
last one,
See,
yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like this would be better for us. Like this, if they gave
yeah,
us this ability instead of the 1 second or whatever, like I think it would be way better, right? Because
yeah. I'm just making. I was giving it a look like okay, because there's been so many trinkets so far this expansion. It's like, oh, I'm a hunter. I'm gonna use a tank trinket, or the Leviathan's lure. People were using that in PvP, even
yeah,
if it was like demon hunt. Like, I was trying to make sure that wasn't gonna be another one of those scenarios, because even like like even cut of death, the fucking King's Rest weapon. I
yeah.
swear, as survival, no agility. If it was a higher level than what you had and someone could trade it to you, it would be better than like a weapon that had main
Is it
stat. And
that
I'm just
good?
like, yeah, the cut of death is really fucking stupid. Yeah, I actually had someone they simmed it between their same item level. Both of them had sockets, whatever. between a weapon that had like haste on it, and it was only a 71 DPS loss to go for the cut of death, and I was like, wow, if it's higher item level, there's no way it's not better, and it
What the
has no
heck?
agility. And then I'm thinking in PvP, if you just get that proc, like the proc is just so
Yeah.
fucking insane.
All right, so real quick, let's talk about the new essences that they're releasing. And then I think there's a new Azorite trait for the new raid. We can talk about that, and then I think we need to wrap up soonish.
Yep.
All right, so the new essence, there's two DPS or three DPS ones, I guess, right? So you have the Breath of the Undying, which this is rank 1, but basically it's just basically Crucible of Flame, and then the miner has an execute, right? And this also has a like a careful aim esque proc, right? So above 80 and below 20, it does more damage. And if you kill something with it, it resets the cooldown. You get to use it again. It sort of depends on the scaling, but I don't know if this will be amazing for us. I think this will be really good in PvP though, right? Because it's sort of like Crucible of the Flame.
Yeah, I think I could see that being pretty good.
Let's see if we can see the rank 3s here. I don't know how to look at rank 3. Oh, here we go. All right, so yeah, above 80, below 20, and then the miner, when your target's below 20% health, that chance is increased by 400%. And the thing about these is that they give you 10% minus 10% corruption, which is really good, obviously, because of stacking corrupted pieces.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how good that winds up actually being.
Yeah, whether it's
Yeah.
worth it over, bloody enemy or whatever, we'll see. Um, the new, let's see this one. Yeah, Spark of Inspiration. Releases a wave of energy, and I think this is the one that like buffs other people, right?
Wait. Yeah, that's so weird. It's a
Which
DPS one.
let's see which one. Release a wave of energy from your heart, increasing damage of all party members within 15 yards. Essences by 40. Wait. Oh yeah, it buffs their essences, right? So I don't know. I There might be sort of
Put that
like
on like a bitch spec. Like if you're like, I don't
or a
know. I
healer,
can see
right?
that
Like
being good,
healers might use this.
but that's a DPS essence
Well,
only, I
okay,
think.
there's another essence that we can talk about in a second that
It's
Okay.
steals
wound
other.
up.
But for a DPS, what I'm thinking is like, I mean, I guess if I was thinking arena, like you playing something like a Shadow Priest, like fuck it, just play that because the Shadow
Nah,
Priest is like kind of like a dotty type class. Make someone else on your team do like more burst, like a support role.
but it's not.
It's
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 wound
it's
up
retarded.
being really shit. Like
Yeah.
for what we've seen so far, and the tuning is who knows, but pretty uninspiring so far.
Yeah.
I
What
agree.
I like,
We'll see
I
how it
think the
pans out. But right
miner,
now, nah.
so I think this miner has really good potential. So your spells and abilities have a chance to increase you and two other allies' haste by 100 and reduce the cooldown of you and two other allies'
So that
major
was one of the
essence.
most disappointing things that came out of the testing that I saw, and that was a while ago. So I
Yeah.
don't know if there'd been any changes, but it was
It didn't
actually
seem very
almost never.
good.
It was irrelevant. It was totally irrelevant in
So
just like
I
oh,
used it
unreal.
yesterday, the miner, and I used it with Iris on an AoE fight, and obviously Iris is what 2 minute cooldown, right?
Did you
Yeah.
even get a single extra cast?
So it reduced it. Basically, Iris became 1 minute and 45 seconds, which is like not that. You might use it based on like timings of fights, but it didn't seem like it was.
Yeah.
Now, if everyone else also has this equipped, I could see it being semi beneficial, but I don't think it's worth over most other miners. Um, but they could buff that or something and could be useful, so who knows. All right, the final one is this guy. It is the Formless Void. And so this is the one that I think has very interesting potential. Basically, any other spec. So this is really more of like a healer or tank one, right? Like a healer can get Iris, and so you basically steal someone else's essence. I think this also has potential on some fights, like maybe a fight like a Jara, right? Where you can steal someone's Iris, but then your main essence you can steal like a single target essence. And so like if you need an AoE for one part of the phase, and then the next phase is like a single target burn, right? And so you can sort of flip-flop between essences. So I could see this having potential based on the fight. I don't know how much you would actually use it. I know healers want this. In Mythic Plus you can get Iris and do a lot of damage, right?
Yeah, that doesn't cool down for longer as well. Oh.
Right. And so it's really going to be fight dependent whether you use this or
Yeah.
not.
I highly suspect I will never once
In your
equip
but
this,
that
and
yeah.
like ever, to the
Yeah,
point where
I
I
don't
might not even bother to pick it
I
up.
don't
But we'll
foresee
see.
any of the
But
fights needing this. Um, at least from a DPS
But
perspective, I
it
think
works off the ally, obviously, right? There's no way that.
allies, yeah.
Hmm.
I could see
Hmm.
healers using this if they wanted to
Yeah.
DPS, but I don't
Yeah.
foresee us using this.
But
Um,
what if? Hmm. What's like? I'm trying to think of like a good healer one, or like a good tank one. Like
at the moment,
maybe there's
Crucible.
maybe there's like a way you could. Yeah, Crucible is like so good overall for everyone.
yeah. Um, but yeah. Oh, and then speaking of Mythic Plus rewards, finally. Sales are going to be amazing. We get mounts and stuff for Mythic Plus. I think you have to complete like all 15s. The achievement, you get like a mount or something like that, which I feel like for most people it doesn't really matter, but
They
at least
literally
they're,
just here's something to boost Mythic Plus sales. Like that's
yes, it's going
basically
to be
what that
amazing.
equates to,
It's
which
going
is
to be
fine.
amazing. And there's a
People
raid
need
skip.
gold somehow.
There's a raid skip in this new raid, so sales are going to be amazing. Haha.
Yeah, I'm glad that they put raid skips back in. Jesus Christ. I don't understand why they
Um,
took them out, but
and then I was gonna talk about the Azurite, the new Azurite piece. I don't know where it's at.
oh,
Uh,
the new trait, which is just
yeah,
like
do you remember what it's called?
X amount of secondary Heart of Darkness or something like that, I think. But long story short, it's just here's some secondary stats.
Uh,
It's kind of similar to Loyal, I guess, in that respect, without the gimmick for it triggering.
yeah, it didn't seem like super good, but I don't see it. Can't find it. Whatever. But yeah,
I think more important, rather than not being super good, it's a total passive. Forget that it's there. There's no impact to your gameplay. You'll track it so that you maybe use some cooldowns with it, but otherwise, I'm not a fan of those ones. I'm not a fan of ones that literally just increased your overall numbers by a unobservably different amount. Didn't change your gameplay. Didn't change anything.
right.
So I feel like it's very lazy and uninspired, but whatever.
Oh, this one. Heart of Darkness. Your secondary stats are all increased by 72, while your corruption level is 25 or higher.
Yeah.
Which 25 is basically like you're gonna have that anyways, right? So
Yeah. So we'll
72
look, we'll
passive
see what it comes
stats.
out to be, but it's just here's some secondaries by like whatever.
Right. Yeah. Could be good. I don't know if it'll be better than a Dance of Death or a Primal Instincts or something like that, but
Yeah, I mean, look, even if it's really good though, that comment remains exactly the same and unchanged. It's like, okay, that could be stronger than other things, or it could not proc at all. I wouldn't fucking notice because it
yeah.
changes nothing. Like,
Yeah. But that being said, the Azurite in the new raid is amazing for BM. I'm so happy that we basically don't have to roll at all for Mythic Plus vendor because all of our
I hope
best
they
pieces.
finally pull it all out because before it was all just placeholders
No, no, no.
on.
Yeah, so, all right, listen to this, Prox. Ready? From raid, from the first 5 bosses, we get triple DOD, double PI, one haze, triple overwhelming power. Yeah, amazing.
Sweet. Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, we're still going to be going for Helm, I assume, because Blightborn is so fucking good.
Probably,
And
yeah.
what is a very frequent story is that by the time you've finished dumping everything into their prog's over, so whatever.
Yeah.
But Yeah. I mean, at least you're not fucked for the other slots, and if you don't get it, you've
Um,
got a decent option in that slot.
on the opposite spectrum, Marksman Azurite blows cock, and your best is all three for Mythic Plus Bender. So, Marksman is Monka. I actually haven't looked at survival. We can sort of look at all the pieces here.
Yeah, let me.
Uh, all right, so we got helm number one is latent and blur. And then you
Wait,
have
it's got
wilderness
wilderness
OP.
royalty.
Yeah, wilderness
Yeah.
OP. So that's pretty good.
Oh, and it's got overwhelming power.
Yeah.
Ooh, and then it's got the Feina thing. Yeah, that's pretty fat. It's like
Um,
perfect.
let's see. So the
Latent,
shoulders, latent,
primeval.
primeval. That one's
Heed my cock. Fuck that. I
that
guess Get
one's.
Ripper. And then impassive is pretty good.
Oh wait, here we go. Here we go. You got primeval, wilderness, overwhelming, and vampiric.
No latent though. Fuck. That's
No latent.
fuck. That was a good PvE. That's a good PvE throw one because it
Yeah.
has blur.
Oh,
I
blur.
I don't know
Yeah.
if I don't know if you
I think you
use
still use triple
wilderness
blur as
survival.
PvP, PvE,
You d-
right? Triple blur.
PvE you'll use triple blur. Yeah. That one actually that one's not that good in PvE because I don't think you use wilderness survival if you're playing
I
blur.
think you do one wilderness, right?
Nah, I was talking and they actually stopped doing that entirely because you just don't get the effectiveness of your bomb anyway. So it's like kind of stupid, especially like your haste levels are so high that it's like pointless. They'll just do like the kill command damage.
Hmm.
Um,
Oh, this one would be good. The chest is latent, wilderness, overwhelming.
that that is yeah, that's a good one. Let's see. Ooh, that one could be good. I feel like the helm is the best one by
Yeah,
far.
yeah.
The helm is definitely optimal.
So survival is about 50-50, like some good, some bad. It's not bad.
Yeah. I mean, it's good because they have like a mythic plus equivalent of that same piece, that helm. So it's like, gives you a couple more sources to get the optimal one. Or you could
Yeah.
have engineering helm, whatever, whatever you need.
And they're adding Mechagon, right? So a couple of the Mechagon pieces are pretty good, I think.
Oh. Oh, they are.
Yeah, Mechagon's a dungeon now, so they're adding it to the Mythic Plus vendor.
True. But
Which,
can you do hard mode mythic plus?
yeah. Oh, no, no. Well, you can. You don't want to, because, man, hard mode of the slime boss on a plus 20 is going to be Monk S.
But what did you get your fat like do you get the fat loot? That's the question.
No, you don't get any loot from Mythic. Well, I don't think you get you don't get the Azurite, right? The only reason to do loot for or the only reason to do hard mode Mechagon for loot is the additional Azurite, right? Because you
Yeah.
get all the other stuff anyways, and you don't get Azurite from Mythic Plus, right? So doing it hard mode is
True.
um,
Yeah,
worthless.
fucking pointless. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's about it. If there are any questions, you can shoot them out. But I think did y'all have anything else to talk about Shadowlands or 8.3 or anything like that?
I don't know. I mean,
We covered most of it.
yeah, I feel like we covered a lot. I mean, most of it seems like it's time to be cautiously optimistic.
Mm-hmm. Where's
I'm
Azor? I think he had a family thing come up and wasn't able to make it today. PP hands.
that fucking bitch.
Someone clip that and send it to him.
Yeah. I'll just message it to him at this point. Cut the middleman.
Cut out the middleman, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so if there are no other questions, I think that is it for episode 7 of the True Shot Lodge podcast. So thank you guys for hanging out, and this should be posted on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube as always. So thanks, guys. See you in 2 weeks.
Soup.
Peace.